Morning. Welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. John Cornell, Shane Matthews on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Coming to you. We're going to bring you our sports and entertainment today.
Yes,
we're going to entertain the world.
That's
what we got to do, JC.
In store. We have a lot in store for folks today and this week, right?
Yeah, we got Steve Spurrier Jr. will be joining us around 8:30 in the program.
All right.
Tomorrow, we're going to have Alex Marvez from Sirius Radio talking NFL.
I love that.
Wrestling. He does a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, I guess WrestleMania has to adjust their thing. They were going to have it in Tampa. I'm not sure, so we'll hear from him. I'll be very interested to hear, as we see what transpires today in free agency. We've had such a massive day yesterday in NFL free agency. Now we know some destinations for some people, and of course the biggest one has to be and is Tampa Bay's new quarterback, who, by the way, we talked about here a few weeks ago. As I reported from the Boston Globe, quoting them, and then we had a nice chuckle about Tom Brady and his U-Haul truck coming down I-75.
And stopping at Celebration Point.
Yeah, stopping at Celebration Point, then on his way to Wesley Chapel, getting gas and going to 275 and taking him and Giselle into Tampa as the newest quarterback of the Tampa Bay Bucks. And the one thing I can say before anything else is thank goodness he is not going to be wearing those god-awful, hideous-looking uniforms. But I like the work that we did to try to get him in that uniform because, QB, you told me this morning that the Bucks are going to the old Super Bowl winning uniforms, the pewter pants and the awesome.
Well, all that's still the same colors. They're just going back.
The colors, but they're getting rid of this orange thing here in the middle. They're getting rid of the number scheme.
There was orange in the.
Was there? But they're getting rid of that number scheme, and they're getting rid of that. And that color there, I don't remember that color. That's a brown or something.
No,
what the hell that is?
It's pewter. It's
awful is what
visual.
it is. But listen, Tom is a Buccaneer. Word got out, and I heard on one of the morning talk radio shows that there was a big dinner that somehow was not leaked in Tampa on Sunday night at a steakhouse. And in the room, if you can imagine, we had Derek Jeter, we had Bill Gates. We had, I think, Bruce Arians and, of course, Tom Brady.
What Gates? What was he there for?
I don't know. But he was there. And
was Bruce Arians there?
Bruce was there. They bumped into each other, and they went back, and he came into the steakhouse, and they had a conversation. And as we now...
You mean he was there visiting and meeting with Bruce Arians?
I think
Bill Gates and Derek Jeter would just happen to be in the same
and then
place.
They came in, and they all had dinner in the private room, right? They have this entrance and out, in and out way you can go without.
That's what they're going to have at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You
have to have that so that you don't get overrun, right, by fans. Not that it's a bad thing, but you have to give these folks a little air, right? So anyway, so that happened, and this deal kind of got consummated. But we reported a couple of weeks ago on the show here on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning, a report that I quoted from the Boston Globe that said Tampa was a real possibility, and surely that's what's now happened. And I think it's exciting. It's really exciting because this guy's got at least a year or two left in him. He's 43 years old. He's played for 20 years. But Bruce Arians is the kind of guy that I see him playing for, who will adjust to the game that he has, his way of running things on the offense. Clyde Christensen, another coach that he's very familiar with down there in Tampa. And here's a guy who, has worked with Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, the list goes on. And I can't help but think that Brady and Peyton Manning got together and talked about this, about what he could do with Bruce Arians. And here he is now as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback, and the proximity to New York is very doable. You get on a plane in 2 hours and 15 minutes, you're in New York City. Much easier than if you were flying to Los Angeles over 5 hours. That's not close at all. Tampa and New York, that's something you can arrange for him. He's probably not going to be around on Mondays. He'll like that. But the weather, the tax-free status of the state of income taxes here in the state of Florida, the sun, the team that he's going to surround himself with. I didn't know, but QB, did you know the Buccaneers were 5th in defensive efficiency?
Yes, I did. That's why I told you yesterday on the show that they were a very good young defensive football team. They had
could have won a lot more games
on offense.
Could have won a lot more games if they didn't turn the ball over so much.
It is great for Tampa, for that organization. They're a serious contender now, believe it or not. He doesn't have to deal with Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs over there.
No, he doesn't have to deal with that at all.
You got to deal with the Saints, but twice a year. But here's the thing. Raymond James is going to be packed now.
It is
for
going
sure.
to be packed.
He's basically a rental quarterback.
That's what he is.
It's probably going to be 1 year, 2 years at the most.
At the most, too. Yeah.
As you mentioned, he's not going to be loading up his family and moving and living in Tampa. That ain't happening. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to have his net jet sitting there as soon as the game is over. Boom, I'm flying home to see the family.
Until Wednesday.
And then he'll be back.
And then he'll be back. And that makes a lot of sense, and it's very easy to do. But the Bucs have a lot to offer him. Brashard Perryman, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard on the offense, Chris Godwin, the wide receiver on offense. I don't even care who the running backs are. The offensive line is a work in progress, but the center's pretty good, and they'll get better there. There's another tight end that they have other than O.J. Howard who's pretty good. So I think the weapons are around for him to be effective. And Arians is going to do whatever Tom needs him to do in terms of running, how they're going to run the offense. Instead of being so vertical downfield, maybe they will change things up again. But if they want to go that way, they've got the dogs who can run down the field. And I just love this. There he is. Good job. And there's Tom Brady for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple of other free agency signings last night, QB. I would like to hear your take on some of these. The one that I noticed, other than Tom's, was Phillip Rivers getting a one-year deal for $25 million for the Colts. Now, I know Jacoby Brissett was the starter last year. He got hurt. He wasn't healthy the entire year, but $25 million for a one-year rental. Phillip Rivers had to go to somebody like this because their offensive line is very good, and they've got to protect Phillip Rivers. Do you like that signing?
I do, but I thought Jacoby Brissett played very well last year.
And he was hurt. He was hurt for most of all the season, and it was difficult for him. Andrew Luck was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL in the 2018 season. I didn't know that stat either. And in 2019, the Colts offensive line was third best in the league.
But again,
so that
stat can be misleading
because of who Andrew Luck is.
Because he's smart, he gets rid of the football,
and he gets rid of the football, and he knows what he's doing, right? So I get that, but I do think the Colts have a good offensive line, and this makes sense with Frank Reich as their head coach. So what does New England do now that Tom Brady is headed south? And there's a couple of options. Obviously, Jarrett Stidham is on their roster right now. There's talk out there that along with Jarrett Stidham, they may bring in Josh Rosen, who's a quarterback that was drafted by the Cardinals, signed by the Dolphins, and never really got a break in either scenario because of how poor those teams are. And it could end up that maybe he and Stidham work together up in New England. Also, word you could sign an Andy Dalton, who the Bengals would have to cut because he's not a free agent. So the Bengals draft Burrow, they cut Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton ends up in New England to work with, as a veteran quarterback who's never won a playoff game but always had to play for Cincinnati and is an effective quarterback at times. He could work with Stidham, and he could work with Rosen perhaps in New England. So that's a route that they could go that I was thinking of. And then you have Carolina. The big news there is that they get Teddy Bridgewater from the Saints, and this makes a lot of sense now because Joe Brady's the offensive coordinator. And who is Joe Brady? Well, he was the coach for the New Orleans Saints before he went to LSU. And Teddy Bridgewater has worked with him before. And Matt Rule never did have any intentions of signing Cam Newton.
No, I wouldn't have either. Cam had some really good years in the NFL. He was the MVP one year, but his game is all predicated off his running ability. That's what made him so dangerous. And then he got banged up, and he's not a good enough thrower, a consistent enough thrower to be effective. And so I don't blame Matt Rule and that staff at all. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a tremendous fit for them, what they want to do. You're going to see what the Panthers are going to be, what the Saints have been offensively. Also, you talked about what's going to happen in New England. I got a feeling because they drafted him. He played a game or two as a starter, maybe as a rookie. Jacoby Brissett's going to end up being the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots next year.
I think that's a great name, a good call there. I think Belichick and Josh McDaniels had a plan. They knew that they weren't going to get Tom Brady. Tom Brady knew that he wasn't going. There's Bill Belichick, and you're right. He had a plan. That they weren't going to sign Brady. So Brady knew this when they didn't do one darn thing on Monday when free agency tampering was allowed. And so the writing was on the wall that he was not going, and they had a deadline to 4 o'clock today when all of these things will officially be inked. And so I we knew the Patriots weren't going to sign him. So I love your call on Jacoby Brissett. That's very possible. Josh McDaniels will work with him, and wasn't he there already? So
yeah, they drafted him.
So there you have it. So he could be heading back to New England. That's a great call, and I think we'll have a lot more to talk about with some of these signings that will start today at 4:01. If you look at it that way. But Bridgewater to Carolina, Cam is out. Where will he go? Who knows yet? Phillip Rivers to the Colts, we know that. And, of course, Tom Brady is your Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback. Now, QB, I'm sitting here with a Mississippi State Bulldogs hat. We've got Steve Spurrier Jr., Bubba, coming on as the wide receivers coach for the new wide receivers coach under Mike Leach for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, the State Dogs. We have ourselves a cowbell. And I'll give you cowbell etiquette after the break, because there are certain things you can and cannot do with this cowbell. And
Who gave you that cowbell?
Well, you have to have it given to you from another. And one of Jack's fraternity brothers gave me this cowbell at a tailgate in the Junction. Jack, my son, was tailgating in the Junction as a student. This was actually before your daughter showed up on campus, and he was, you have to have a cowbell given to you. That's part of the tradition. You can't just go buy one, even though they sell them everywhere on campus. And so the Bulldogs have these little traditions. It's very cool. I think Bubba is going to really enjoy his time with Mike Leach, and both of them will love Starkville. And so that's why I'm wearing this right here, this hat right here. And we're not doing a show in Starkville right now. We are in the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. But we are not in Starkville. But we want to give Bubba, some love, because, man, look, this is an SEC team, a team that's just been down for a long time. They had a great year in 2014, a pretty good year after that. So, cowbells everywhere, and I'll really get it going before we get Bubba in here, because imagine 62,000 of these ringing in your ear. There is cowbell etiquette we have to coach you up on too, QB.
Yes. If you want to send a text on the Titan MRI text line, if you got any questions for Bubba Spurrier or anything else, send us one. We got a text here. This is from Joe. Joe says, the biggest loser in the Brady going to the Bucs is the eye doctor that performed eye surgery to Jameis Winston. He had LASIK done, I believe.
Well, he got paid, though. That's true. Jameis, where will he end up? Who knows? Probably a backup somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe a starter. Jameis, he did have some moments, though. I mean, he threw for 30 touchdowns, but he had some good wide receivers.
To the wrong.
But
maybe he was really colorblind at times.
Yeah.
Taylor, let's see some of those Facebook Live comments, which are brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. What's that one? We'll scroll down a little bit more. There. Fred says, nope, the other way. Fred says, the pirate ship will now be busier than ever.
Okay, so QB, I know you practice social distancing on game day because you're not a player, but I'm a fan. And I go to these games, and I went to the Saints game against Tampa Bay last year, and the stadium was half full. But that cowbell area in that end zone, the north end zone, is Mardi Gras, man.
Well, I don't know. I think he may have been referring to the pirate ship.
The pirate ship is in that end zone. The pirate ship is in that.
You were just talking about Mississippi State.
No, I'm telling you right now. You practice social distancing because you don't go to games.
Correct.
I go to games. I went to the Saints-Bucks game last year, and the stadium was half full. And my God, that area of the north end zone is Mardi Gras. I mean, you can't. They better have this COVID-19 Wuhan crisis, Wuhan virus figured out by then, because the pirate ship is the place to go to congregate, and that is right, Freddie. You are absolutely right. That's going to be a lot of fun. So let me deviate and let me digress for a minute here, QB. I'm driving in. We're coming into the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. And I show up at the little quickie stop thing right on 241.
You actually went in there to buy something?
Well, I went and bought a banana. So I went to buy one banana. They had fresh bananas there, 69 cents. I went to buy.
You got robbed.
Why?
You can get like 6 of those.
I know, but I didn't have time to go to Publix, QB. I didn't have time to go to Hitchcock's here in this beautiful town. I went to this Convenience store. That was right there because it's convenient. So I roll in there, and of course every maintenance worker and construction worker in town is there, and there's a little bit of a line. So I walk around looking to see if I can get some 5-Hour Energy or something like that, Gatorade, whatever I need, and they clear out. And this lady just jumps right in front of me in line. She just hammers right in front of me with 2 cases of Natural Light.
There you go.
She had 2 cases of Natural Light. She sticks them up on the countertop. She goes, I need 2 cartons of Marlboros. So the lady goes back, gets 2 big red stacks of Marlboro, stacks them up on top of those cases of Natty Lights, baby, Natty Lights. There she says, I need me a roll of Copenhagen. A roll. That's
she's hunkering down.
She is getting ready. So anyway, she's got this. We don't need aspirin. We don't need food. We need all this. So she's got all this. Okay, great. So she's stacking it up as I sit there like an idiot with my banana. And she says, oh, wait a minute, hon. Let me try this card right here. She shoves it in there and it goes, no money. Sticks it out, pulls out another one. No money. Sticks another one in there. It works. The lady goes, that'll be $49 and something, or $39. I was so upset by that time because I've been in there for 5 minutes for my one banana.
It's very convenient for you.
So guess what happens? She's using a debit card. Guess what happens to the debit card? It's rejected because there's too much crap on the counter. She didn't have enough money in the account to pay for it. So what does she do? She got rid of one of the cigarette cartons and one of the and the roll of Copenhagen, and kept the Natty Lights, and she almost nailed it on the dot. Took it out of there, looked at me, and is as if to say, "What the hell are you looking at?" and rolled on out of there. And I looked at the lady behind the counter, and she says, "Lord, it's getting busy around here." I said, "Well, I'm going to give you a banana. How much is that? And you ought to give it to me for free after watching all this." And she told me 69 cents, and I rolled out of there. So that was quite, but I mean, 2 cases of Natty Light. It's 7:29 in the morning. 2 cases of Natty Light.
Well, she doesn't. Maybe it's for later in the day, JC.
2 boxes of Marlboros.
She's hunkering down.
And a roll of Copenhagen that she basically had to put half that stuff back.
All right, we're going to take our first time out here on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. When we come back, we're going to have our play of the day. Right. And remember, at 8:30, we'll have Steve Spurrier Jr. talking Mississippi State football.
And I'll give you etiquette on how to ring this thing. You don't hold it by the handle. I'll show you how.
We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Remember, if you want to send a text on the Titan MR text line, 352-353-7465. We already have some here that I will read when Bubba Spurrier joins us. We're going to do our play of the day. Our play of the day.
Talking about the play of the day.
Play of the day is brought to you by Area Rug Masters. Receive a BOGO, buy one, get one, rug cleaning when you mention the code Shane or JC. Call them at 352-448-5999. Today's play of the day is brought to you by Area Rug Masters, and it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We don't really have a play. It's just kind of an organization
they play
play
for
of the day.
Quarterback.
They got Tom Brady.
They got themselves the legend. And, TB12 in TB. And Tampa Bay, this is what we, of course, led the show with, free agency, and, of course, Tom Brady being the headline signee of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now they've got some weapons that won't be turning the ball over 30 times. The defense won't be left hanging to dry on their own 30-yard line with a new possession. It is a tremendous acquisition as far as I'm concerned. And we talked about it right here on Pot Up with this news about 2-3 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, when the Boston Globe was kind of hinting around that he could be the next Tampa Bay quarterback. I'm looking forward to having Steve Spurrier Jr. on the show here at 8:30 because I can't wait to tell him about Starkville. I know he knows.
Are you going
to
tell him where he needs to go eat, JC?
Doty's is one of them. Obviously, the Cotton District is a great place to go. And man,
you'll get a lot of fried food there.
Yeah, you will. Oh boy, they sure do eat differently in Mississippi. But he's going to be in for a shock there because I know he's probably one of those.
He's like his dad. Eat your greens,
your greens and vegetables. But they like that there too, of course. But Starkville is one of those towns that reminds me of Gainesville about 30 years ago. And what I mean by that is that it is small, it is very charming, and there are certain areas in it that really kind of bring you back and make you feel good that you're coming back to visit. And the reason why this place is important to both Shane and I is because we had 2 children that graduated from college there. And that school was really good to my kid because they gave them money and it was a great place to learn. So here we have a cowbell. Here it is. And when Bubba gets on here, I'll ring it. But you hold it like this. Let me get the logo up there. You hold it like this. That's proper etiquette. When the quarterback of the opposing team is on the field, you basically yell, not cowbell. There's a big sign up there because they don't want, the SEC doesn't want cowbells ringing when the other team is up on the line of scrimmage. Once the play is started, once the snap has come, everybody brings them out.
They ring that damn bell the whole game.
This son of a gun is going right there. So there you have it, 60,000 of those. Everybody's got one, and that's going to be one of their traditions that Bubba gets to be used to. Mike Leach, I'm sure, is getting the lay of the land up there, and, they can't do anything. It's unfortunate. Spring practice is not available, so we're going to ask them, of course, naturally, without spring practice, what has been going on, if anything, and he'll probably say not much of anything. But the other thing that's really cool about Starkville, and it doesn't get near the attention of, say, the Grove in Oxford, is this place called the Junction, which is where everybody congregates on the south end zone of the stadium. They have the dog walk, and they have all these tents that basically come out on Thursday. The traditions there on a Saturday afternoon are not well known, but are absolutely tremendous. And so Starkville is going to be a great place for that family if they go up there, the Spurrier family, if they go up there to watch Mississippi State play, to enjoy a football afternoon.
Rick says on Facebook Live, which is brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorney, he says Tampa Bay is going back to the orange uniforms from the 70s. Rick, I'm not 100%.
You said the Super Bowl.
I'm
uniform.
Pretty sure. I'm going all in on the Super Bowl uniforms from the 2000s.
Why would they go back to the orange? Rick, I mean, come on, Rick. But thank you for the effort. But I mean, certainly it's got to be Gruden. The year Gruden was there when they won it with Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp and Brad Johnson. And
yes, it's that uniform.
Those are the guys that are. Was Vincent Jackson on that team? I'm not sure I can remember that team that won a lot of the offensive players. I just remember Brad Johnson. Do you remember some of the other players on that team?
Well, you had Derek Brooks.
Well, I mean, on the offense.
On offense, you had Mike Allstott.
Yes, Allstott. Thank you.
I think Pittman was your tailback.
Okay, Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I don't.
Who were the receivers? Wasn't Vincent Jackson one of the receivers? Why don't we have a Tampa
Joey
Bay Buccaneers
Galloway?
fan?
Heck, I don't even know.
Joey Galloway. Well, I'd love to have a Tampa Bay Bucs fan let us know. The Bucs won the Super Bowl in a very impressive fashion. They dominated the Oakland Raiders. So now the Oakland Raiders are the Las Vegas Raiders QB, and they have Marcus Mariota as their quarterback, probably letting Derek Carr hit the road. What do you think of that acquisition? Did you like that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say.
Who knows, right?
I mean, what Gruden likes to take older type quarterbacks that have been around, whether they've put up great numbers, won a lot of games, and he feels like he can win with them. So we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, it's all speculative right now. But that Tampa Bay team was really good, man. I mean, that defense was Hall of Fame caliber for sure.
I saw a tweet yesterday. I wanted to read it. I thought it was hilarious.
I got one too.
He said, this guy, I don't even know who this guy is, but he goes, if you told people that staying inside for 7 days would save the 2020 college football season, the entire South would be locked in their room right now.
Great call. That is such a great call. And not only just the South, but the Mideast, because the Big Ten, they have very passionate football up that way too. That would be a great idea. Let's do that. That's a great tweet. Who sent that? You don't know?
It was just it just popped up. Somebody had retweeted it. Somebody that I follow.
So I think that's a great tweet. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with this. It's very unpredictable. There's so much unknown. The numbers are increasing though, because the number of people being tested is increasing. I think the measures are being taken that South Korea and China basically took somewhat similar to those, maybe not as draconian. There's your word of the day there, Taylor.
We've had that one already before, haven't we?
Draconian? No, we haven't had draconian.
I think we've had that one
We've
before.
had epidemiology, and we've had...
draconian.
Yes.
I swear we've had that one before.
You do? What's it mean?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention, but I do remember that name. That word.
You and the attention thing. But that is happening now in this country. I mean, it's a full stop. Restaurants are done. Bars are done for a while. Thank goodness the golf course is open for business.
Now. Yeah, let's hope it stays open.
Yeah. Listen, I just think, we've got foreign countries in Europe that are completely shutting it all down. The mayor of New York wants to have basically some sort of all-out shelter declaration. I mean, it's unbelievable. But we'll talk about that later. We've got a special guest about to join us here after this break. A Duke wide receiver, a former assistant coach at many different schools, and somebody who I'm sure plenty of people would be interested in hearing with Steve Spurrier Jr. about to join us here on the show.
Yep, we're going to take our second time out. We'll be right back. You've been watching and listening Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com. and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews. We're going to go to the Titan MRI hotline now, and we're joined by new Mississippi State wide receiver coach Steve Spurrier Jr. Bub, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Good to be on the Shane Matthews show this morning. How's everything going in Gainesville, Florida?
Things are going good here, man. You hadn't been in Starkville very long, and obviously I don't think you're there right now. You're spending time with your family over at the beach, right?
We are. Yeah, we came down here for spring break 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and haven't gone back. But got into Starkville we got there for January, recruited a little bit, and in all of February, so got to get around our team some, and excited for the opportunity and looking forward to the day we can get back with our team and start doing some football.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I think it's a weird time for everyone, and no one has really an advantage. But with a new staff coming in at Mississippi State, I mean, this is really kind of hurting y'all because you can't even evaluate your players. You're trying to get to know them. Are you allowed to do meetings via the conference calls or what have you? I mean, what's going on right now?
Yeah, it does. It hurts us. We need to find a way to get around our team a little bit between now and next fall, and hopefully we'll find a date that we can at some point. But we'll worry about that when it comes along. But I was talking to Kevin Wilson the other day at Ohio State, and they already had, I think, 3 days of spring practice, and he said their team looks pretty good. And he said actually if we canceled spring ball completely, that would not affect any of us. We would be fine. But clearly for us and the new staff and what we're trying to implement offensively, we need some time on the field, and we need to be able to coach and teach to get this thing rolling a little bit. But we'll worry about it as it comes, and we'll get ready for that day when it gets here.
Bub, JC here. How much time have you spent in Starkville, and what do you know about the place and about, what do you know about the coaching staff that you'll be with, of course, being with Mike Leach at Washington State and so forth? What can you tell us that you do know?
Well, the entire offense came with Coach Leach.
Yeah.
And Coach Leach he likes to keep that consistent with what we do and how we teach it and how we practice. And so all of us on offense came. The defensive coordinator, Zach Arnett, who was at San Diego State last year, has come in. And I think a couple of defensive coaches, Darcel McBath, Jeff Phelps, were both at Washington State with us. So got a good staff. Really do. Looking forward to getting on the field with all those guys. Don't know a lot about Mississippi. To me, there's a lot of similarities to South Carolina.
Yeah.
There's no pro sports. There's 2 college teams that get most of the attention in the state, and usually most of the fans like one guy or the other. And there's a lot of good football players in the state. A lot of good high school football players. A lot of good junior colleges. So looking forward to that.
Well, I've spent a lot of time up there when I went to go visit Jack, and one of the things I did was join the Bulldog Club. And I can tell you right now that once Coach Moorhead was let go and they brought in Coach Leach, the sales, the season ticket sales, and the anticipation and just the conversations in Starkville has increased exponentially. And you have a tremendous amount of anticipation in a town that is thirsty for football. And I can assure you that this place will support a program that is heading in the right direction. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a lot of similarities to South Carolina. They love their football. They love supporting their football. And again, anytime you're going to the SEC, you want to talk about playing football in the SEC and playing football in the South, it's different. It is. And just more people are there, more people care, more people love it. You hear something every day from everyone. So no, we know we got a good fan base. We know there's a strong group of dogs out there, and it's still hard for me to say go Dogs. I'm still trying to get used to spitting that out cleanly. But Hail State comes out a little quicker.
Hail State, Bob.
It's the maroon dogs, not that red and black dog. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Daryl. He says, "Good morning, guys. Could you ask Bubba when he first met Mike Leach what he thought about his passion for Pirates?"
Well, you know what? When I first met him, I don't think Pirates was one of his passions. and these are really neat stories. I was the receiver coach. I went with Coach Stoops to Oklahoma in 1999, and Mike Leach was the offense coordinator for 1 year and then went to Texas Tech. But before that, he was at Kentucky with Hal Mumme, and he was, receiver coach a year, passing game coordinator, co-OC. But when he first got to Oklahoma, that was his first time as an offense coordinator. So he had no track record. So, I'll tell you, I'll never forget this. We're sitting in the offensive room with him, and he's installing the offense with us. And Cale Gundy, the running back coach, he said, "Do you have a playbook?" He said, "No." He said, "Do you have anything written down?" He goes, "No, I've nothing written down." He said, "Do you have any tape?" He said, "Yeah, we got all this video from Kentucky." So we watched all the stuff. And literally Tim Couch is dropping back, running right, running left, and finding somebody and hitting him. So we watched some of that. But just installing the offense and listening to him talk. And, he's left-handed, so when he draws on the board, he's got stuff going all over the place. Yeah. But, I don't know if Pirates was his he had an addiction to Pirates back then.
Bub, when you obviously you worked for your dad, you worked for Bobby Stoops, you worked a little bit with Lincoln Riley, and you've worked a long time with Leach. What's the similarities among all these great coaches that you've worked for?
That's a great question. They all get it done. They all communicate well. If you ask me what we do offensively, what Mike Leach does and what my father does are very differently on how we coach it, how we teach it, how we install it. But the biggest thing they have in common is their ability to teach, and they can coach players how to play and how to execute what they want to do offensively. They know how to practice, and they know how to teach. Yeah, at the end of the day, when we put players on the field, they play the way we coach them to play, and they play the way Leach coaches them to play. And all my father's successful teams as well, if a quarterback could play well and execute the way he coached them to execute, we were pretty successful. So, yeah, and just the ability to communicate and just straight leadership. And I tell my players that I remember I had a meeting with my players at Washington State, and I said, guys, I want you to know something. Mike Leach will be regarded as one of the better college football coaches to ever coach this game. He will. And the rest of your life, people will always ask you, did you play for Mike Leach? I want you to explain to me what made him such a great coach. And I told my players, I said, I want y'all to be able to answer that. I want y'all to be able to explain why Coach Leach is a great coach. And it is. It's interesting the responses you get. But ability to motivate, ability to communicate is one of his greatest skills, and all the guys I've worked for have had that.
Yeah, and you mentioned there, there's a difference between the air raid and your dad's, quote, fun and gun offense. And I've never sat in on a meeting about the air raid, and just me watching a lot of Leach's, Lincoln Riley's offenses. Can you briefly kind of tell us what might be different? Just me watching it on TV, I feel like your dad's offense was more vertical, where they're more horizontal, and your dad took more shots. Am I right or wrong there?
Probably a few more shots. We spent a little bit more time talking about executing plays and making sure we throw completions. Our running backs have led the team in receiving for I don't know how many years, but I know the last three, the leading receiver was the running back, had 83 receptions or more the last 3 years. And the tailback had 50 receptions or more. So we spent a lot of time talking about completions. What the air raid system, the way Leach teaches it is, people keep moving though. If it's man-to-man, keep running. If it's zone, kind of find a hole there. Where my father's offense was very coverage specific. If it's man-to-man, we need a man-to-man play. Mm-hmm. If it's zone, we need a zone play that gets to that area specifically. And it's kind of neat watching Leach teach it, because he doesn't ever want to identify specifically to a quarterback that this play is bad against that coverage. Just keep going. Everybody keep going. And then, we work on that scramble play a good bit. If they rush 3 and drop 8 and everybody's kind of covered, we'll start scrambling. Somebody get open. So every play has a chance to be successful in this offense. And we coach that. We coach that on a daily basis. Get open. Get open. Quarterback, find somebody that's open and throw a completion.
Like kind of like a sprinkler read almost.
Right to left.
Right to left. Right. So we have, Bubba, we have a Facebook Live question. Of course, Facebook Live question is brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Danny wants to know, Bub, who is the best wide receiver you have ever coached?
Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey.
That didn't take long.
I've coached a bunch of good ones. At South Carolina, we had Debo Samuel, Pharaoh Cooper, Sidney Rice back in the day.
Sidney Rice.
He was pretty good. But Alshon was, he was 6'4", 230 when he played. And I mean, he single-handedly, I remember the game we beat Alabama at home. I think he had 8 receptions for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that was one of the first times I really saw his just dominance as a player, and he was covered by, I mean, Alabama did and still does have great corners. And I remember some of the plays he made with guys all over him. That single-handedly won the game. So, no, Alshon, without a doubt, was one of the best and the hardest working receivers I've ever coached.
Sidney Rice, so you're right. That guy he caught everything. But Garcia was really good that day, too. I mean, he probably had his best game in his career. I guess you would agree that between him and Alshon, they won that game.
Yeah, they played awfully well. And I'm trying to think, Steven didn't throw it a lot that game. I think we threw like 22 passes.
But he hit everything.
He hit a bunch of them. Yeah. He did. And he got them off. And, he did. He had some excellent plays in that game.
2010.
Our defense played really well. Marcus Lattimore, I believe, had a good day. So it was a
great game.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Yeah, it was a fun game. And first time we'd ever beaten a number 1 at home. And, yeah, that was a memorable day without a doubt.
We're speaking with Steve Spurrier, Jr., wide receiver coach now at Mississippi State University. We got a text here on the Titan MRI text line. It comes from Larry. He says, ask Steve, what are the traits and characteristics that you picked up from your dad in coaching?
There's too many things I've picked up on the field and off the field. Just how you live your life consistently with how you coach. That there's a lot of similarities. The way my father plays golf, and I still remember he said, I enjoy playing golf because I think it makes me a better coach. And it's a competitive effort, and he's still very competitive with how he plays the game. But yeah, just again, communication with your players, discipline of your players, and just shoot. There's a lot of things that make him unique and special, and I've kind of been fortunate to be around him the amount of years I was. And we had a lot of good years together.
So, Bub, there's been a lot of news, obviously, with Coach Leach going to Starkville, Lane Kiffin now going up to Oxford, and then you had LSU win the national title. Of course, Nick Saban and that crew is always going to be around. Talk a little bit about what you think the challenge is going to be competing in the SEC West specifically, and then coming back to be a part of the Southeastern Conference as a whole.
Yeah, where do you want to start? We're in the toughest division, the toughest conference, the toughest, the most amount of players, the highest expectations. It'll be interesting. And what's neat about Mississippi State is their expectations aren't right. Awful. If you win more than you lose and you're competitive and play well, you go to a bowl game, you got a happy fan base. Mississippi State's gone to 10 straight bowl games, which is really quite remarkable. And it's really one of the reasons, Coach Leach was excited about the job. Mississippi State has never won 11 games. And I think that's a neat number that we aspire to hit. Dak's year, the year they were number 1 in the nation, they won 10. I think they lost the bowl game.
They lost to Georgia Tech, in the Orange Bowl. Yeah.
So there's that 11 of that opportunity to reach 11. But our first 4 or 5 games are New Mexico, NC State, Arkansas, Tulane, and then our next 3 is LSU, Auburn, Alabama. Oh. So obviously you dive into the teeth pretty fast and find out about yourself pretty quickly and roll from there.
And you also get to now compete against Lane Kiffin in the state of Mississippi, to get some players. You're going to have that coming at you now from the north because he's going to throw it all over the yard too.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be interesting in the state. Yeah, I told people, I said they ought to have all the head coaches at media day come on one day, and they ought to sell tickets. They ought to sell $20 a ticket. You can go into a football stadium and watch it all day long. All they had 80,000 come.
Well, it will probably make quite a bit of money and get a huge crowd outside in the lobby. But I just think it's just so exciting that Mississippi State answered Mississippi when they hired Kiffin. Mississippi State came right back with a splash and got Coach Leach because Moorhead was dying. That program, nobody was renewing tickets. It was in trouble, and they responded with an answer. And Mike Leach, I was surprised. I mean, were you surprised when you were told you'd be going to Starkville, Steve?
Not a lot.
No?
What Coach Leach has done at Washington State was remarkable. For him to win 9, 8, 9, 11 4 years in a row there was, and that's hard to do. And there comes a time where you kind of realize that. And if you get a different opportunity that is potentially in the best conference in America, you might take that. So I think, Coach deliberated a little bit on what his next move would be and what the best one would be. But Mississippi State has It is. It has the opportunity to be a great job. There's a lot of things that haven't been done there. Offensively, we can do some things specifically. I think they haven't had a 500-yard receiver in 5 years, they said. And I think we had 7 last year at Washington State.
Right.
So some of the things that we can do, and we know that this offense will bring some excitement to the state and conference. And, yeah, we're looking forward to the day we can get on the field with these guys.
We're speaking of Steve Spurrier Jr. We got a Facebook Live question, which is brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Heath wants to know, what's the funnest game you ever coached in?
I tell you what, I've coached in a lot of fun ones. I have. That's hard to narrow that one down. You know, the game, one that comes to mind quickly is when we went to Missouri and we won in overtime. And Connor Shaw was actually hurt the week before, but he came in the second half and played. And I remember Connor Shaw and Bruce Ellington had a couple catches. But it was our first overtime win on the road ever in school history. And they missed about a 15-yard field goal that would have tied the game in overtime. But I do remember that to be a special win. I tell you what, when we at Oklahoma, and when we won the national championship and beat Florida State 13-2, boy, there's a lot of good memories from that game.
And, that was in New Orleans, right?
No, that was actually in Miami.
That was in Miami. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought Stoops was that's right. He played LSU.
He lost the one at the Sugar Bowl versus Florida.
That's right. Miami.
But, yeah, that was a fun day. Chris Weinke was playing. They had a heck of a game. They had a heck of a team. But for us to find a way to win that one and win the national championship out there at Oklahoma, Bob's second year there, it was a pretty cool memory.
We got another text here from Joe over in Jacksonville. He wants to know your thoughts on Gardner Minshew being a Jag fan. What your thoughts were coaching him?
I think it's awesome. Gardner's got such a great story. He's from Brandon, Mississippi down there. Nobody really – his story, going to Troy, going to a junior college, going to East Carolina. And even when we called East Carolina, they said, we're kind of going to a more dual threat. We want a quarterback that can run around a little bit. So we're going to change what the direction really we're going. So for us to sign Gardner, for him to come – he came in May. So he was there in the summer, announced the starter about 2 weeks before that first game. And that's the year we won 11. So he's a talented guy. He's a great leader. He's a tough player. And what he did for the Jaguars last year, I think he was 6-6 as a starter. Hopefully the future's in his hands, and he can help play great for those guys. But he's a great guy, great family, and it was a pleasure to be around him. And Washington State will never forget Gardner Minshew.
Bubba, okay, so you were on spring break, and it's a little extended spring break now. You got your own starting 5 basketball team with 2 coming off the bench there. You got 7 kids.
2 cheerleaders.
Two cheerleaders.
2 cheerleaders.
Okay.
Basketball team, 2 cheerleaders.
2 cheerleaders. But
and they're all here.
They're all there. Okay, so
all kicked out of college.
Let everybody know, especially your triplets. They're in college. You got 1 at Florida, 2 at Duke. Let everybody know what's going on with the Spurrier kids.
Well, blessed to have a bunch of good, healthy children. They all have a good mother, fortunately, or they'd have some problems. But the triplets have all done well. And they graduated from high school in Kentucky, and then the year we were in Washington, my wife, I was there 2 years. My wife was there 1. But she would look at me every day saying, we have 3 children in college, 3 time zones east of here. So that was always a challenge. So to come back, to come to Mississippi and get a few states closer to the southeast was something she was excited about. But they're all doing well, freshman school. Of course, they're all out of college. Everything's online, so they're with us. Yeah. We're going to head back to Mississippi probably here this week just to kind of have some semblance of a home life. And Melissa, and she'll have an academic regimen set up for every other child. Nolan's 13. My twin boys are 9, and then my little girl McKinley is 4. Wow. So I've got a full spread from top to bottom, but they're all doing well. We are very blessed. Well,
Emmeline is a cheerleader here at Florida, and then you got 2 at Duke. I mean, that's got to be kind of cool with you being a Dookie yourself. You got 1 playing football and 1 running track or cross country.
Yeah, no, that is cool for all 3 of them. And even, going through high school, and I knew my kids are pretty intelligent, and I think everyone thinks they have pretty smart kids. But when my boys said they wanted to go to Duke, I said, now, I don't know if you can get into Duke. And even my daughter saying she wanted to go to Florida. Florida, you talk to the amount of people that apply to Florida that can't get in. It's, they don't have a lot of preferential treatment for a lot of people. So fortunately, they all did well. and I brag about him a little bit. My daughter had 32 in the ACT. Oh. Gavin had 34, and Luke made a 36. So they
definitely got that from Mama.
Yep. They fortunately have an intelligent mother. So they're all doing well. Emma was my only 4.0. She was my only 4.0 her first semester in college in Florida. So she owns the trophy right now. Wow. It's the smartest one. Wow. But her cheering and Gavin playing football with Coach Cutcliffe and my son Luke, who runs cross country track, he does all that stuff. Now they're all doing well, and again, we're blessed and kind of proud of those three.
Final question for you here, or comment from.
And I got one last.
Oh, you got one more.
One last thing for.
Joe wanted to know: are you excited about the HBC's Gridiron Grill and how cool to have a Spurrier legacy here forever?
I'm curious to watch that open up and see how that goes. But yeah, that should be pretty cool, and I think he's got some good management and some ownership behind it, and to make it work. But yeah, I want to see what the menu is and see what kind of names and tags they put on it.
Well, I had one recommendation, and I said there must be your mom's chocolate chip cookies on that menu.
Yep, I can see my mom back there stirring it up right now, making it for everybody on a daily basis.
Well, they'll definitely have the Florida games on and the Mississippi State games on. And, Bub, I got one last thing for you to listen to. I got this.
There you go. Cowbells are ringing.
You hear that, Bubba?
I hear it.
You're going to get about 60,000 of that on Saturday. Good job.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
All right, Bub. Hey, enjoy the beach, and we'll talk to you soon, bud. Appreciate you coming on.
We'll do. Oh, you bet, Jim. Take care, man.
All right. That's Steve Spurrier, Jr., and we appreciate him joining the program.
Now, QB, you are your mom went to Mississippi, your dad went to Mississippi, you're a Mississippi.
Yeah, my mom was a cheerleader, my dad played football.
That's what I just said. So
you said they went there.
Well, of course.
You went to Alabama, but you didn't play football.
Yeah, well, you didn't get a A in English 101 either.
How do you know?
Well, I just don't think you did.
I was very good at English.
Well, at any rate, my point that I was going to bring to you before you jumped in there was that now we've got Mississippi State to root for over there in the West. And so do you have, I guess, when it's time for the Egg Bowl, what are you going to do?
Sit back and enjoy.
Sit back and enjoy it. Great. He reminded me of his dad there when he said something about, fortunately, they're like their mom or they'd be in trouble.
Yep. He's got a lot of his dad.
Oh, gosh, you could tell. But I tell you what, that was a good time with Steve Jr. And, we just hope that things, obviously on the athletic side of things get better, but certainly the human aspect and the human story here that we have with this Wuhan virus that's come from China is just very difficult to deal with, and we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully getting back to normalcy will be sooner than later.
Yep, Celebration Point's where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, Starbucks, The Keys, Grill and Piano Bar, Select Shades, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Well, JC, Bubba was good.
Yeah, you got anybody lined up for the rest of the week?
Tomorrow we have Alex Marvez talking NFL from Sirius. We'll talk free agency. He also has something to do with wrestling. I don't know if he's a commentator for that, but we'll find out.
Well, and I think it's a lot to talk about. I mean, the NFL is keeping
it really kicks off
free
today.
Agency. Today at 4:00 is when the season officially begins, and that's when we are going to get some other, when it's going to be official with the dotted line. So that was a good show. We had a lot of content for you, and we'll try and do it better tomorrow.
Did a lot of your Mississippi State people tune in today?
Well, I hope they watched it. I don't know. I know this is predominantly a Florida Gator surrounded program, orange and blue everywhere. You, of course, being the Gator, but a football player. But, it's good to have some other perspectives out there, and it's good to hear how other folks are doing. And certainly Steve Spurrier Jr. has local ties with his dad, and I hope that things work out for him all over there in Starkville because it is a really cool place to be.
Yeah, I can't wait till they get cranked up. But, they're a lot of teams, and here we are, we're talking about sports when there's other bigger things out there, but they're really having issues, not having issues, but they don't know their players.
No, they don't.
They know nothing about them. Well, and you're implementing a totally different type system.
Yeah, and that's going to be a challenge, but other than Ohio State, I guess, Nobody really knows what's going on. Although you're right,
well,
it's a whole brand.
When you look at Florida, Florida's got a lot of pieces coming back.
That's
you
true.
look at Georgia; they're implementing new quarterbacks,
Alabama,
a new offense.
Right.
Alabama's got the same offense, and they have Mac Jones, who's played. Georgia doesn't have a quarterback that's played, and they brought in a new offensive coordinator.
Well, and Mississippi State just doesn't know what they got. So and I don't think Lane Kiffin really knows what he's got up there in Oxford. So it's going to be a very busy time when times get back to normal, and we are hoping and praying that happens soon.
Absolutely. Well, today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow.